1960, a new flag rises above Lagos. A new anthem fills the air. A new nation is born. And across the land, millions of Nigerians believe that finally a united future has arrived. But beneath the celebrations, beneath the smiles and handshakes, something darker is already forming: ethnic mistrust, political rivalry, and fears that no one dares to speak out loud. Today we enter the chapter that changed Nigeria forever. The coups, the counter-coup, the civil war, and the consequences still shaping the nation today. Stay with me, because this story only grows more intense from here. At independence, Nigeria was not one nation in spirit. It was three powerful regions forced into one fragile union. The North, vast, politically unified, but economically unequal. The West, commercially vibrant, culturally confident, yet politically divided. And the East, intellectually ambitious, fast-growing, and increasingly influential. Each region had its champions, each had its anxieties, and each quietly feared domination by the others. Politics became a contest of survival: control the center or be controlled by it. The fuse had been lit. Just 2 years later, the cracks widened. In 1962, the western region descended into chaos. Political alliances collapsed. Corruption allegations filled the air. Street violence erupted. Parliament became a battlefield of insults, suspensions, and arrests. And while civilians argued and fought, the military watched, patient, silent, calculating. Nigeria was learning its first hard lesson. When politics becomes warfare, soldiers eventually step in. Then came the night that shattered the illusion of stability. January 15, 1966. Under the cover of darkness, young military officers moved. They were angry, disillusioned, convinced they were saving Nigeria from corruption and collapse. Shots rang out. By morning, Nigeria's political leadership lay broken. The prime minister was dead. Regional leaders were gone. The nation woke up confused and terrified. Major General Johnson Aguiyi-Ironsi stepped in to restore order. But something was terribly wrong. The coup appeared selective. Northern leaders had suffered the heaviest losses. Across the north, grief turned into suspicion. Suspicion hardened into rage. A dangerous narrative spread quietly. This was not reform. This was domination. 6 months later, the storm returned. July 1966. The counter-coup, northern officers struck back, fueled by fear, revenge, and ethnic distrust. More blood, more chaos, more leaders killed. Ironsi was dead. Nigeria was now trapped in a cycle of vengeance. Out of the wreckage emerged Yakubu Gowon, young, soft-spoken, tasked with holding together a country already tearing apart. But the damage was done. Trust had collapsed. In the north, violence against Easterners erupted. Homes burned. Families slaughtered. Survivors fled in terror. Trains and roads filled with refugees returning east. For many, the Federation had failed its most basic duty: protection. Meetings were held. Peace talks attempted, but every promise sounded hollow. And then, on May 30th, 1967, Colonel Chukwuemeka Ojomego-Ojukwu declared the Republic of Biafra. Nigeria was officially at war with itself. What followed was one of Africa's most devastating conflicts. For 30 brutal months, Nigeria bled. Bombs fell. Cities collapsed. Families were torn apart. Children starved while the world watched helplessly. But beneath the battlefield lay a deeper truth. This war was not inevitable. It was manufactured by fear, by mistrust, by leaders who failed to heal old wounds. When justice collapses, when dialogue fails, when fear becomes political currency, nations break. In January 1970, Biafra surrendered. The guns finally fell silent. Gowon addressed the nation and declared, "No victor, no vanquished." Reconciliation began. Reconstruction followed. But healing was incomplete. The war ended, but the trauma remained buried, not resolved. And buried wounds do not disappear. They wait. Decades later, Nigeria still wrestles with the same demons: ethnic fear, religious suspicion, unequal development, political manipulation, distrust between North and South, distrust between Christians and Muslims, distrust between the powerful and the forgotten. The ghosts of 1966 never left. They simply changed faces. And the question Nigeria must confront is this: how long can a nation ignore its history before history repeats itself? Nigeria stands at a crossroads. One path leads back to old mistakes. The other demands truth, justice, and courage. Unity does not come from silence. It comes from understanding, from learning, from remembering. If you believe history should guide our future, if you believe unity requires honesty, if you believe the next generation deserves better, like this video, share this story, subscribe for what comes next, because this story is far from over. To be continued.